What I really want to talk to you about is the consulting immersion, or something we sometimes call the consulting focus. And the good news is this integrates and overlaps with almost all of our other immersions. And so you can almost think like you're getting the benefit 2 for 1. That's pretty good. So when we talk about it, there's a standard course in the spring that's the core of this immersion. It's called Management Cases. And in management cases, you're really spending a lot of time solving business cases. So you're taking the role of a consultant, working with the C-suite, the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, any of those key business functional areas. And you learn, how do you solve this business problem for a variety of different business in different industries, different types of problems. You learn, how do you develop a presentation to communicate recommendations to the client so that they will buy those recommendations and move forward to implement them. And you practice that a lot in a team. You also have a group of guest speakers that are partners in the major consulting firms, both the big firms and some of the boutique firms, that talk to you about the industry, talk to you about the challenges you're going to face as a consultant, that allow you to really get a good understanding of the profession and what do they expect of you in an internship. All of this is designed to say, when you go into that internship, you're comfortable and ready to start working. You're going to pull in the skills you learned in the core. You're going to pull in the skills you learned in the immersion you're doing. That's going to give you some additional functional knowledge and an understanding of a particular business area. But you're also going to have these analytical skills, presentation skills, communication skills, and understanding of what's expected of you as an intern to be able to successfully convert that into a job. And let me talk a little bit about this, because you may go to a lot of schools and see, well, they've got 40% of their students going into consulting. We have about 25 to 30% of our students going to consulting every year, but we do that by helping them be ready for it, because the majority of our students who go into consulting did not come out of consulting. They didn't spend 2 or 3 years as an analyst and then come back to get their MBA to go back to their firm. We actually help you make that transition from whatever you've been doing, non-consulting, into consulting. And that's really one of the strengths of the program we have. So if I go from that management cases spring course that you've put in with your strategic marketing immersion, the SGE immersion, the semester in strategic operations, corporate finance, unfortunately not investment banking, because they're two very divergent paths and you don't need them both, you're really going to have this good blend that's going to make you very effective. Now, it's not the only thing that we do to make you be prepared for this internship and to get a successful role in consulting. So there's 2 other things, probably 3 I really want to talk about. The first one is BR Consulting. BR Consulting is an internal student-run consulting firm. It operates through the fall and the spring, and it's your opportunity to try being a real live consultant in a very safe environment with not-for-profits and small businesses in the Ithaca area or with Cornell alums. So you actually practice the entire consulting process. You don't have to get the client. The directors get the clients, but you've got to scope the project out. You've got to put together a project agreement. You've got to figure out how your team is going to get the work done. You may have to do primary research. You may have to do secondary research. You may have to do modeling. You have to do an interim presentation to your client. You have to deliver a final presentation. While you're going through that whole process, you're learning about teamwork, all the consulting skills you need. You're learning about client relationships. You've got directors helping you with it, and you have specific training as you go through that process to make sure you're successful. So it's an on-the-job, safe environment, not risky, helps local companies. They pay a little bit of money for it, so they're committed, just like you're committed. But it gives you the capabilities and the skills you need. So when you go in the summer into a consulting firm, you know what you're doing. And you understand what it's like to work with a client and the pluses and minuses, because there are always issues that come up with clients. I'd like to say they're always nice and easy and they always give us all the information we need right away. It's not true. So you've been through that and you understand it and you know how to deal with it. We have a series of management skills programs in the spring that can augment that give you other additional capabilities that you're going to need. So it'll take you through more in depth. What's the consulting process really like? How do you take a problem and break it down into its components so that you know what you need to do, the kinds of questions you need to ask, so you know how to go get data to solve those questions, to answer them, to come up with recommendations. We teach you about interviewing. And it may sound like interviewing is really simple, and I just came from a lecture to 65 students on interviewing. It's really complicated. To think about, who do you want to interview? How are you going to interview them? What are you trying to get out of it? What kinds of questions do you need to ask? How do you take that interview data and integrate it with other data to come up with recommendations? How do you use it as a way to sell the client and the company that you really understand their problems? So you'll learn about interviewing. You'll learn about data collection, whether it's surveys, secondary sources, primary sources, and the difficulty of getting data. One of the most difficult things. So you'll understand how to go about getting data, one of the critical skills that you'll exercise over the summer. And then we'll reinforce those presentation skills that you've learned in management cases. So these things all work together in a building block process to get you ready for that summer internship. And I know Drew talked a little bit about the fall preparation. We have a very extensive curriculum in the fall to help get you ready for interviews. Much of that curriculum are also the skills that you would carry into the management cases, into BR consulting, and again into your internship. So if you think about it, it's a process that starts when you come and ends when you go into that internship to make sure you've got all the competencies and the critical skills, the critical thinking, the critical analytical skills, the communication skills, the teamwork skills, and the client relationship skills, so that when you come out of the summer, you've got an offer, assuming that you've decided that consulting is still what you want to do. But you've got an offer and you're ready to go into the second year learning all those extra things you want to do. So again, it's a piece that integrates very well with all the immersions. It builds that capability that you need so that when you come out of the summer, you're converting your job. And our conversion rate is extremely high. It's probably 95% or better. And most years it's 100%. So if you want to go someplace where you're going to learn consulting, you've never done it before, and you really want to understand how do you take your prior work experience, how do you take the core and the other immersions and go into consulting, this is a place to do that.